Peter.
What's going on, man? Good to be here with you and Mike tonight. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, baby. All right, listen, everybody. Happy New Year. Welcome back after the new year. Really appreciate it. We got a great show tonight. We got retired Lieutenant Mike Ricupero, retired of NYPD Real-Time Crime Center about 6 or 8 months ago. He's doing some really good stuff in the tech space. We'll get into his career and then real time, and then we'll do a lot of tech talk tonight on some of the stuff that's going on, not only in the NYPD, but all across the country in real-time crime center environments. So for the criminal investigator tonight and the detectives and analysts, this is probably really a sweet spot for you, especially the retirees who might not have experienced some of this tech stuff. You're not going to believe what's capable today, and especially creeping into the AI space. So it's going to be pretty wild. But before we do that, there's a couple of conversations we're going to talk about that are very near and dear to our hearts as it relates to 9/11 and some issues around that, and Muslim American Month being recognized by the governor, and then also this craziness that's going on with Venezuela and Maduro and how it affects at least the drug trade on our side. I mean, the geopolitical stuff is a little outside of our wheelhouse, but we'll get into that. But before we do that, Peter, meeting Mike, and then for our audience tonight, everybody, Lieutenant Mike Recupero retired. So Mike, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you. Pleasure. Long time coming, right, Tommy? We've talked about this for a couple of months now, but timing is everything, right? So I'm glad to be here. Pete, thank you so much. And just happy to be here. Thank you.
Good to have you.
So we got Mike coming. He retired, he put his little shield on the pillow, because when I retired, you threw it in a box. You just threw it in a box. They literally treated you like dirt. They're like, yeah, you're coming in, yeah, retiring. Yeah, where's your shield? You got your shield? Yeah, throw it in that box right over there. And then Vivian Abazia, I know exactly who did this. Vivian Abazia retired. And she's like, no, I'm not doing that. That's my shield. I'm a detective, and that shield is worth a hell of a lot more than that. And she's the one who came up with that pillow. So for any historians who want to know where the pillow came from, Vivian Abazia is responsible for the pillow. So really interesting stuff. But Mike, congratulations on a wonderful career and in your retirement. And I know you're still servicing the community, the law enforcement community, not only in New York, but all across the country. So anyway, let's get into this. But we are at the tavern, everybody. So in the chat, what are you guys drinking? Water, iced tea, coffee for Terry Murnane. We get it. Pete is going H2O with lime and what did you say? Sea salt?
A pinch of sea salt, brother. It helps you hydrate.
Oh, that's so funny. I'm doing a Manhattan because Mike worked in the 10th and real time, and headquarters was in Manhattan. So I'm doing a Manhattan tonight. I got a rye with some vermouth and a couple of dashes of bitters with a cherry. And Mike, did you get that Basil Hayden?
Got it right here. It's great.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
Beautiful. All right. Good stuff. So let's get into a couple of current events before we let's start with Maduro, because I think the more emotional is the World Trade Center stuff. So Venezuela, Maduro. Pete, I know you've talked to some people in space. What are you hearing?
Yeah, man. Look, the guy was a prolific narco trafficker, right? I mean, there's a lot of talk. Some people, the fentanyl. Very, very, very little fentanyl comes through Venezuela. It mostly comes through Mexico by way of China and all that stuff. But hey, man, tons and tons of cocaine. And he's been warned. And let's be honest, he was under indictment from going back during the Biden administration. And prior to that, if you remember, Trump was getting browbeaten for not going him after during his first administration. Well, now his time has come. Tommy, when I was in charge of ATF's Miami office, our office space was actually in Doral, which the nickname of Doral is Doralezuela. It has a huge population of Venezuelan expats, the biggest in the United States. And when you talk to those folks, man, they rabidly hated Maduro and his predecessor, Chavez. They're dictators, man. They're barbarians. They would go they walk past your house, say, hey, I like this house. We're taking it. I mean, they seized everything for the government. There was one point just a couple of years ago where people were so hungry, and you might have saw this in the news, they were climbing into the zoo, killing zoo animals to eat them. I mean, that's how bad things were in that country. So it amazes me, though, that these crybabies that are protesting, right, are the same ones who were protesting in the No Kings rally, right? And now all of a sudden they're protesting supporting a fucking dictator. Well, go figure. But yeah, good. I'm glad he's in custody. They did it with Noriega. They've done it with others. This isn't precedent. Let's put him in prison for the rest of his life.
Yeah. So they're climbing into the zoo and they're eating our dogs. They're eating our cats. They're eating our pets. They're eating our zoo animals.
They were eating zebras.
It's hilarious. For me, it's just the hypocrisy. As I've kind of gone through this journey and kind of become an independent, I'm done with all the politicians. I'm becoming very cynical. You know what? I can tell what's right and what's wrong. And listening to all the tapes from 2016 to 2020, they're not doing anything. They're not doing anything on Maduro. This is terrible. You're not doing anything. Now he did something and you don't like it. Well, if you don't like the tactics, fine. But do you like that he's gone? Do you like that he stole the election, actually stole the election? Do you like that these people were exiled? And it's just exhausting, the inconsistency and the hypocrisy. And then I love all the videos of all the Venezuelans running around at all these protests, not only in the United States, but all over the world, telling people, have you ever been to Venezuela? Why are you demonstrating against this? You've never been there. You don't know what my family went through. And this one woman is saying, I am going to see family members that I haven't seen in 10 years. This is a wonderful, wonderful day for us. At the lowest level, the lowest common denominator, this woman said, I am going to see relatives that I've never seen, haven't seen in 10 years. And so, like, what cause are you taking up? Like, what are you doing?
They're paid.
I know they're paid, of course. They're every city all across, and they have no idea. They're just taking, and we talked about this earlier in the green room. If everything is protestable, then nothing's protestable. Because if everything's important, then nothing's important. What are the priorities? What are really important things that we need to do? And stop with the nonsense on everything that you disagree with. That being said, it's a bad week for Democrats defending Minneapolis and the child care Leering Center and Maduro in the same 2 weeks. Like, that's a bad stretch for them, man.
Tommy, let's remember one other thing, too. You go back 40 years, Venezuela was the third richest country in the world.
Yeah.
They had a thriving economy. And who knows, man, maybe 10 years from now, based on their oil wealth, maybe they'll be like Dubai, which is people in Dubai. Everybody's living pretty damn good, better than we are in this country in many ways.
Yeah.
But socialism works, Pete. It works. Trust me. Just give it about 40 or 50 years. That's when it plateaus. I'm telling you, it's going to really take off.
It works for the leadership, that's for sure. Not the people.
Yeah.
Pete, just real quick, I'm going to do a call out over here because someone, Frank SY3LI, just finished reading your book. Pete, did you ever find out who was doing surveillance on you? If not, who do you think it was? You can hit that a little bit, and then we'll get into the next topic.
Yeah, originally I thought it was ATF Internal Affairs till I got sent to headquarters and got to know all the people in Internal Affairs, and none of them were the people that were surveilling me. So then I think it was either FBI doing it for the U.S. Attorney's Office or the OIG, or candidly private investigators that were trying to dirty me up because they were worried about how that whole scandal reflected on Obama and Holder. But no, to this day, I still don't know who it was. When the investigation ended, everybody just kind of went back to their corners, and I went on with my life, as you learn reading the book. So, yeah, I wish I knew. Try to handle it differently too. Probably should have punched their lights out, but what are you gonna do?
All right, so if there's nothing else on Maduro and Venezuela, I'm happy for the Venezuelan people. I hope it's stabilized. I hope the country gets back to normal and does some things. The money and the oil, sure, that's one of the things. And there's probably 100 other things that are way more complicated than anyone can even really understand, all the different moving parts globally. Come on, guys. All right. Muslim American Heritage Month. Governor Hochul has declared Muslim American Heritage Month that 16 New York State landmarks will be lit up in green in support of Muslim American Heritage Month. Now, I'm sure that I speak for the three of you, that we're all for religious freedom. That is the foundation of this country. However, I think this is a bridge too far, having been Pete and I first responders to 9/11 and having lived through many. And then Mike, in his journey, probably will talk to you about why he became a cop. one of the reasons, if not the main reason, and all of the terrorist attacks that we faced. And it's not just Muslims in the Islamic community, the radical Islamic community, but this is just lighting up the World Trade Center in Lower Manhattan. The replacement building for the 2 towers that went down is a bridge too far for me.
Yeah, I'd agree too. And look, the thing that bothers me the most is you hear these same people that are celebrating this whining about a nativity scene somewhere. You know, I mean, look, I just think it's bullshit. We shouldn't have these sorts of things. You know, look, and you're right, Tommy. You know, the people who attacked us, they weren't symbolic of all of Muslims or all of Islam, but they were radicalized Islamic extremists. So I just think it's in bad taste, especially the World Trade Center, that area around Ground Zero, the 9/11 Memorial Museum. That's sacred ground. It's just in poor taste, but not surprising of Chiclet Teeth herself, who I think is half a communist, and you know, doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, so New York Governor Kathy Hochul declared January Muslim American Heritage Month for the first time in state history. Oh, so we're doing this now? Like, wait, this hasn't been a tradition? Why are we doing this now? What happened? Directing 16 state landmarks, New York City World Trade Center be illuminated starting on Friday, January 2nd. It's so crazy to me, and I believe this is exerting pressure and saying we can get this done. All of these things, the statues being torn down, bending the knee, kneel in front of us, get down on your knee and hold our hand. They don't care if we do it or not, or if the government does it or not. It's about, let's see, this is my opinion, let's see how much we can get them to do. Let's see how far we can make them bend. And then they were like, no, it's Muslim American Heritage Month, and you're going to light up the thing. Go ahead, Kathy Hochul, tell us no. And as soon as she says no, what do you think they say?
Mm-hmm.
They call her a racist.
Yep.
And that's all this is. This is all about power. They don't really care. That's my opinion.
Yeah, well, look about Minnesota. You couldn't question the massive fraud going on there, because if you questioned it, even though it was in your face, then you were a racist. You were racist against Somalis. So that's par for the course, Tommy. Par for the course.
That's all hypocrisy. That's not going on there in Minnesota. No way.
Yeah. How about that Hilton Hotel, man?
Did you see that?
Hilton.
Yeah.
God love Hilton for going in there and pulling their franchise, throwing them off the website. Love it.
Yeah. So I think it's a Hampton Inn.
Yep.
And it went outside of Hilton, and Hilton got kind of kicked around a little bit for about a day, and everyone thought it was Hilton doing it. It was an independent owner. I think the group owns about 10 or 12 hotels, whatever it is.
Yeah,
and yeah. And so Hilton took away their franchises. They said, nope, and this is not what we're going to do. And so the government then turned around and said, hey, all 4 million government employees who might ever travel, this group is no longer authorized to be. Yeah. So you just got to take some silly stance about this, and now 4 million government customers are no longer in your wheelhouse. That's so funny, man. Come on,
longer on a GSA approved listing. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yep. So anyway, all right, guys. Anything else on these 2 topics? And that's about it. We'll get into the topic at hand. I appreciate the comments, and people are chiming in, really upsetting to them, folks.
I think if they did the Empire State Building, that's one thing, right? You did you did Ground Zero. Yeah, that's Ground Zero right there. That's that's where you guys remember it. And for all the first responders, thank you. For what you guys have done in there, and how many people first responders sacrifice their lives. Their families see that. What are they thinking, right? What are they thinking when they see that? And it has to be so upsetting to them. It has to bring back so many bad memories that they're probably just trying to get through over 20 years later, right? So,
yeah. And don't forget, right after 9/11, not too long after, a couple of years after, they tried to put that mosque right down the block, literally within you could throw a rock and hit it from Ground Zero, and they tried to do that. That you know darn well that location was not desirable from us. That was I'm going to flex on you and you're going to fucking acquiesce. And that's the end of that.
But that's what they do. I mean, let's look at how many cities you can't hear church bells anymore because it's considered offensive or it's too loud or it breaks city ordinances. Yet you'll hear the call to prayer 5 or 6 times a day, sometimes as early as 4:30 in the morning. It's a double standard and it's complete bullshit.
Yep. That's right. All right. We could do this all day. Let's get into Mike Ricupero. So congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you.
And then jumping into the vendor space as an experienced public safety technology vendor for quite some time. I'm looking forward to not only having a relationship with you while you were active, but seeing you out on the circuit now. And I think it's truly wonderful. And my 40-year anniversary is Friday, and I'm going to acknowledge that. I've met both on the job and after the job in the technology vendor space, going all across the country, meeting cops, meeting analysts, meeting detectives, meeting executive leadership. I've often wondered how some people and some leaders and some detectives catch people. And then I've seen some of the most unbelievably talented people across the country, and it has been an absolute honor. So welcome to the stuff. So why don't you tell us where you grew up, Mike, and your youth and where you went to school and how it is that your path brought you to the New York City Police Department.
Grew up in Brooklyn, New York, Gravesend. I attended Lincoln High School. I graduated.
I was a Grady guy. I'm Grady, buddy.
Oh wow, we used to hate
we used to go
Grady.
steal you girls. We used to go steal you girls because we were an all boys school. So just so you
Were
know.
Were you an all boys? Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, we never went on that side. Only to play baseball. They had a pretty good. And Mounted is still there too. It smelled awful. That's where I took my lieutenant's test, by the way. It was
You do have Lee Mazzilli, so.
Yeah, that's it. We have Stephon Marbury too. I mean,
Oh, that's right.
But
anyways, Lincoln.
After high school, I went to college for graphic design, early 2000s. I always loved tech, always loved computers. I actually went to Catherine Gibbs for web design. Catherine Gibbs doesn't even exist anymore. It's not even a school. So I had to transfer to Kingsborough Community College, which is, in my eyes, the Harvard of community college. Had a great time there. And, when I was in Kingsborough, I wanted to just get enough credits to be a cop, right? You need those 60 credits. I was taking all kinds of weird classes, golf, square dance, everything. So I knew graphic design wasn't a job that I wanted. I wanted to be a first responder. I took the firefighter exam. I took the NYPD exam. And whoever called me first was the winner. And NYPD called me first.
Yeah.
So
you had said earlier in the green room that 9/11 did have an impact on you, and you got on a couple years later. Tell us about where were you when that happened? How do you remember it, and what did you feel, and what made you want to pursue that first responder gig?
Like we all do. We remember, and a lot of people probably in the chat as well. You remember where you were that day, right? And I was getting ready to go to Catherine Gibbs on the train. And I saw the news, and it was like a punch in the chest, right? And it was unreal. And people even during that time after that, it was insane. But seeing the bravery of us as first responders go in there, risk our lives, and seeing you and Tommy, Pete, all you veterans, that motivated me. That made, I didn't want to go into the army or I wanted to be a cop. I wanted to help people in where I live. And you know what? I just had Jerry McCarthy, who was in Chicago. He was telling the 9/11 story, and he's a great guy. And after he told the story, it was like 3 of us left, right? And 3 or 4 of us. And I said, Jerry, you are one of the reasons people like you, first responders, heroes, that I became a cop. And it touched them, right? It really did, because sometimes we have to tell people that are retired, that are out of the game for a while, that you are heroes, right? And he is one of the heroes that motivated me to be a cop, motivated me to be a better person, motivated me to help people. So that's, that was really what I wanted to do with my life. Now, 3 years into my police career, who calls me? The fire department, right?
Of course.
I got 100 on the test, 100 on the physical. Great. We want you in the next class. I just passed the sergeant's test. I had 3 years on. 3 years on. I was a 5-year wonder, everyone. All right. So, make your jokes now. All right. But I was in the 6A precinct, which is a great precinct to work. Bay Ridge is really a bunch of great guys. We still talk to this day. I saw Kenny Flores in there. Hi, Kenny. How you doing? 6A was a great place, but I had a decision to make, right? Do I want to go up burning buildings, or do I want to continue being a cop where I'm going to be a sergeant? And I decided that I wanted to be a cop. My sergeant called me a stupid asshole every day during roll call. He made me Tommy Stefanelli, made me do the radios every single day for like a week after I made that decision. And if I had a bad day, he would bring it up. You could have been a firefighter,
Yeah.
I'm horrible. I can't even put up these shelves behind me. They'll probably fall during this podcast. But I knew I wasn't a firefighter. I was a cop. I enjoyed what I did, and I wanted to be a sergeant. And that's what I did. I was a 5-year wonder. I went to the 10th precinct. I didn't know the 10th precinct even existed. It was, a lot of people don't. Now they do. It was probably the best precinct that I worked in. It was just a great atmosphere, great cops, friendships forever, just like you did, Tommy and Pete. These are, I still talk to a lot of people from the 10th. And then I did 5 or 6 years there. I did Midnights, which is, Midnights is the best platoon ever. If you could do it, if you hit that wall, then you can't do it. Once you hit that wall on Midnights, don't do it anymore. And, that night diff was great, but the duty captain comes in one night. He goes, Mike, you know why we get paid that night diff? We get extra money? I go, no, just why, boss? He goes, because the medical bills are so high because we have so many medical problems for working Midnights. And I laughed, but he's true, 100% true about that, right? Because it's not, you shouldn't be up during those times, which, most of the times we weren't. We did it right back then. It was a different job. So I did that from 2010 to 2016. I was in the 10th precinct. I did, crime. I did, conditions, every platoon you can imagine, no day tours, because that's where the old time sergeants were. But then, I said, I want to get into the bureau. So, John Russo, who's, good friend of mine, and everyone knows Johnny. I asked him, and he thought it was a good idea. So I actually tore my meniscus and my ACL playing Weekend Warrior basketball. So I was going to go to the latent print section. Everything happens for a reason. I had tore meniscus, ACL was out for like 4 or 5 months. I got back out there, got in front of the board, and I needed somewhere to go. And they're like, what about real time? And not a lot of people knew what real time did. And I was like, sure. I wanted to get off patrol. That's all I knew, right? And I wanted to get into the bureau. So, a couple months passed and I got into real time, and I got my orientation there and everything like that. And it was a different world to me because I didn't know what they did. And I was surprised my first day there of all the different, all the things that go on behind the scenes in real time, right? And we had so much talent there in the very beginning. Like every seat was filled with an old-time detective that was in the squad that didn't want to retire, but they wanted to contribute still, right, for the younger detectives. And they knew what systems to use and everything like that. And I learned. I was like a sponge. And
so, Mike, let me interrupt. What year is this? Because I want to put into context, because I want to follow the technology trail. So what year is this that you get there?
2016.
Okay, got it. Yep.
Yeah, 2016. And, we had the juvenile crime desk, we had facial recognition, we had, the real time, the crime center 24/7. and it was filled to capacity, and it was really a gentleman's job at that time, right? I was a sergeant, and I got to be a sergeant. In Detective Bureau, it's a little different. I was proud of my time there in the Detective Bureau. I loved every minute of it, and I was really happy to be there, and everything was great about real time. I then worked a couple of years has passed. I got the opportunity to work with Chief. I went upstairs with John Russo, Chief of Detectives. John took me under his wing, really taught me a lot. Under Rodney Harrison. Rodney Harrison's, he's one of my mentors as well. Funny guy, great guy. He saw that I have something to offer for him that he needed. So I worked there for 6 months. Then I got promoted to lieutenant. And where do you think I ended up? I ended up in the 10th precinct. And it was meant to be. When something's meant to be, it's meant to be. It was either 6, 7, or 10th precinct. What do you think? You picked the 10th, right? I still had my driver there, Vinny. Vinny Candela was there, and I still had a lot of great cops there that were friends of mine. And when I went back there, it was during COVID. And during COVID was a very weird time to be a cop. It really was. Great, no traffic, right? We didn't have to deal with traffic. We got in and out of the city real quick. Anywhere you want to go, that's it. No one's out there. It's like it was a little. It was like it was a ghost town. But I still wanted to go back to the Detective Bureau. And I did a year in the 10th, and that was probably one of the best years on patrol I ever had, being a lieutenant. Because when you go to, Tom, sergeant to lieutenant is a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
There's not much you have to learn different. Now sergeants are, are under you as a lieutenant. The biggest transition, obviously, is the cop to sergeant. That 100%. That will take so many years. I don't care what anyone says. No one is a born leader. Okay, you are made. You're made a leader of the actions that you do. Right, and being in the 10th precinct, I wanted to go back to real time. Chief Wilcox at the time, great man, great boss. What a great boss he was. Real quick, he used to take stacks of papers home with him on a Friday night. And mind you, he could have just PDF'd it and he could have looked at it on his department phone, but he used to print everything out, old school.
He's an old school guy. Yeah.
And he was looking at it. He used to look at everything. He used to call me, Mike, look at this. And he was just great guy. And he goes, why do you want to go back to real time? I said, because I want to bring it back, because there was a time, a 2 to 3 year period, that the job really forgot about real time, and I wanted to bring it back. And I got the opportunity to come back. And, I had a lot of cleaning to do. I wanted to bring back all the policy and everything that I learned in 2016 in 2021, 5 years later, it was all gone. A lot of people were retired. Some people have passed on. Some people moved on to other positions. I felt like I needed to clean it up, and it needed some cleaning up. And the morale was so bad there, and I wanted to bring it back. So I would bring back, stuff like, you'd be surprised. You give a detective a keyboard, a new keyboard or a new monitor, it's something. It means a lot to them. These little things that I've learned to do. Pens. I used to buy like really nice pens, give them out to people. Here, oh, thanks, boss. Thanks. I really do appreciate it. And I stayed down there in the crime center for at least 1 or 2 years. I was right there anytime something happened. And I wanted them to see what I did and how I learned, right? I was always taught, don't do something that you wouldn't do on this job, and that's how we were all taught, right? And I wanted to show them that, hey, I could do the job too. I'm a lieutenant. I was never a detective, but I was a lieutenant. But I learned how to use all these different data sets, link analysis, and then I got into facial recognition, everything like that. And then the morale changed. Everyone started to get that real-time jump again and getting into active jobs and getting to active shooter situations, the Brooklyn shooting, going to the scene with big jobs and assisting detectives that need help, right? Because that's what we do in real time. We are, we're an assist unit. We're there to help not just the detective bureau, but the whole job in general. We want to get that information out there as fast as we could. And that was the key goal that I had there.
Yeah, so let's go back a couple of things I want to talk to you about. The little things about new keyboards, new computers, pens, paper. Like, I think those things are underestimated, because if anyone was paying attention when Bernie Kerik became the police commissioner, he walked into precincts and he was appalled at the conditions. And he made building maintenance jump, and telephone repair jump, and typewriter repair jump, because we were sick and tired of having 7 IBM Select Type typewriters out of commission, and we're calling typewriter repair, and they're 6 months out. And I've got 10 detectives typing on 3 active working typewriters and 7 that are DOA. And all of a sudden that changed. We were always afraid in the 7-9 squad of being sniped, because the shades were all torn and broken and crumbling from sun damage. And we didn't even have blinds, and our office is lit up on the 2nd floor, and they could see us walking around. And we're like, and all of a sudden Kerik becomes the PC, and you got shades, and you're going, thank God it only took 20 years. Like, those things do make a difference. There's a lot more to the job, and there's a lot more to morale. But that point that you're making is equip the people with the tools that they need, from pens and paper to the most sophisticated software, the most sophisticated technology, and everything in between. The budget of the New York City Police Department is probably 95% human resources and 5% all the other things. You know what? You need to make sure that that budget fulfills all the things that everybody needs to be safe and to be efficient and to be productive. So I'm down with that. So 2016, you get there as a sergeant, you get back in 2021, and you saw a dip that you said in morale, and you want to get that back. But we talked in the green room about 2 people. So now's as good a time as any to acknowledge the people who worked there that passed on. So please, I'm aware, and I know both of them, but I'm sure you know them both much better. So I'll let you do it.
Lisa Rosado was one of the best detectives that I work with, not just in real time, but in general. She really, I remember there was my first day in real time as a sergeant. We had I forgot what it was. There was a terrorist attack. I forgot which. It wasn't like a major one. It was, I think it was like one of the rammings, like at Times Square or something like that. I forgot which one it was. Lisa came in. She called up. She goes, "Okay, can I come in to help?" And I'm like, "Is this like a thing here? Do people do that?" And they're like, "Yeah. People do it all. If something happens, they know to come in and to help, right? Because the van is going to go out." So Lisa would help. She trained a lot of great people. She trained, people there that had no business being in real time with no background, but she made them great at what they do. Learn that craft. Unfortunately, Lisa passed right after she retired. It was a very sad moment for all of us in real time. And she's always remembered. Her picture is on the wall in real time. I did a little memorial, and of course, my guy Joe Palillo. Joe died. Let's say about 2020 or 2019 of a rare form of cancer that he got from 9/11. They said it wasn't even, it was a form of cancer that they only have seen in Africa. That's how crazy it was. I've never even heard that before, right?
That's funny. It's not funny, but.
Yeah. But so Joe meant a lot to us in real time. It's like losing a family member, like no one realizes, like us as cops, we're human beings, even though we put on that facade that we're not, and we're people. Thanks, Mom. She was great. Yeah, she was. And so, and Joe Pa was great too. When I came back, I wanted to do something big for Joe Pa. And there's Kevin. Kevin was one of my great lieutenants.
So hold on a second. Kevin, who is the detective that passed away also? I think it was a heart attack. Brian, I'm drawing a blank on his last name, so please throw it up in the chat. Another loss to the Real-Time Crime Center. He solved the burglar with the LPR, the bank robber in the LPR case out in Queens, where they got the car and they got a hit, and all his bank robbery, the map and all the tools were in the backseat of the car. So if you can remember that, Kevin, we'd really appreciate that in the chat too. So some really good people we've lost in real time. So
yeah, and so Joe Paul, I want to do something really nice for him. So we needed a new van in real time, and I wanted to dedicate the van to Joe. And I spoke to Josephine, his wife, and I said, listen, I got the okay. I did all the paperwork. You have no, I swear that the mountains of paperwork I did for this van. It was insane. The Police Foundation always does a great job, and they don't get enough credit for what they do. And Susan, Greg, Roberts, Dr. Oz, great people, and they want to help us all the time. And they got us the new van. And of course, when they get us the new van and we get the money for it, the job goes, no, we'll pay for it. And I'm like, no, you didn't say you would pay for it. I got someone that, we have all this planned. So we actually did a dedication service to Joe when we christened the new van in real time. We put his name on it. We put his name inside of it. It was really nice. His family really did appreciate it. And I'm still in touch with Josephine. Every holiday, I wish him, Merry Christmas. I know it's rough for them. They have 3 boys, but, but behind every cop, there's a family, right? And people don't realize that when they see that cop writing a summons. That's a father, that's a brother, that's an uncle, that's a cousin. We're human beings. And I think this transition for me off the job has opened up my eyes to a lot of things, that it's okay to have emotions. It's okay to, it's okay to cry. It really is okay. But as cops, it's not, right? And it's something that I'm trying to get through myself. And I think a lot of cops, when they retire, should really look at that and let, be human again. Like, I feel human again now. I feel like a person, not just a tax number, if that makes sense. I know that makes sense to both of you. I hope it makes sense.
Pete's going to jump in now. Go, Pete. This is your space, man. You know it.
Oh, man, it's rough, man. After 9/11, like I said, man, I lost 7 friends that day. I was in a bad place, man. I never missed a police funeral. I couldn't even go to their funerals, brother. I was in such a bad place. I felt like, why am I still here and those guys are gone? And then, then I wound up later on having some issues that I thought I was having a heart attack, some other things. Turned out I had PTSD. I was in denial for a long time. Man, then, I finally reached out and got some help. But here's the thing, brother. It's okay to not be okay, right? It's not okay not to do something about it, man. And that's the thing. Like, when I came on a job, you didn't ever ask for help, because we're the police. We're the people come to for help. Thank God that's changed, and especially after 9/11, where we saw things that, look, the military goes through a lot of shit. Even guys in the military, hey, you were there, they couldn't believe what we saw. So, man, spot on. We got to take care of each other. And the other thing is, man, you got to take care of yourself. Because if you can't take care of you, you can't take care of your troops. You can't take care of your family. It's a cascading effect. But we didn't do it right for a long time. We're finally starting to get our head out of our asses and really put that attention where it needs to be. But good on you, brother, for looking out for your guys. Even when they're gone, and remember them. Because, hey, man, a hero only dies the last time their name is mentioned.
You're right. And that wall in Moby keeps getting bigger and bigger. And it's more depressing every time I used to pass it, seeing some names of people that I worked with. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even know they passed, because you don't know. You're working all the time, especially now, all these young cops. That's all they do is work. They're working 6-7 days a week. I know we did it, but we're a different mentality than the cops out there right now. Like, I prepared myself for the job before I got on the job. I had to talk with about 2 or 3 people that were on the job, and they told me exactly what was going on with the job and what to expect. It's a career. It's a great job, but you have to know what you're getting yourself into. You're going to have good days and bad days, but you will have more good days than bad days on this job. I guarantee it.
I actually heard. I'm sorry, Pete. Go ahead.
And if you're having a bad day, that's normal. That's the thing, is you think you're fucked up. You think, well, something's wrong with me. No, it's not. That's a normal reaction to seeing things that human beings shouldn't see. And then, like I said, man, if you're having some time and you can't get your head out of that space, then go talk to somebody. And we've had people in the chat saying, "Oh, I can't talk to my department. especially one guy from Yonkers, and that might be the case. But man, go talk to a priest. Go talk to a counselor. There's organizations out there that look out for cops and first responders that need help. So it's just, man, just don't sit there in the darkness and just wallow in it, man. Dig yourself out of that hole, you know?
Yeah. I went the Papa route, and so I didn't worry about them telling the job anything. So and that worked out really beautiful. The guy showed up to me. I don't even remember his name. I don't even know if I even got his name. The cop showed up. He met me in the Wantua Diner in Wantua, New York. I told him what was going on. He hooked me up with a therapist who, I mean, I paid out of pocket, but like at pennies on the dollar. And she was like a 75-year-old Jewish woman who was probably the coolest person I've ever met in my life. She was so smart and so together and so with it. Anyway, so that being said, also I want to say that, you know, Pete, you just said, like, thank God it's changing. I don't think it's changed, finalized. But like John and Eric and Marlon talked the other day about all of these people who are coming up to cops and threatening them and menacing them and videotaping them and provoking them. And we don't have a policy. We don't have a plan. We don't have a response. We don't have training on how to handle these people. And this is out of control. And if like you really care about these cops, they're being spit on, they're being abused, they're being verbally, physically like assaulted, like ambushed, and these things are happening. The single most thing you have to do is protect your people so that they can protect the people of the community. So I think, yes, there is progress, but there's a lot still missing that needs to be done. Not just in the NYPD. I'm not calling them out alone. This is across the country.
And everyone, I've got spit on, and it's not fun, right? And that's like the most disgusting thing that anyone could even. I'd rather get hit, slapped in the face than get spit on.
Tommy, let's be honest, Mike. That's disgusting. Is right. In our day, if somebody spit on me, and I hate to say this, statute of limitations is expired. They were going to get some baton strikes. They were going to get cuffed. It was not going to be a pretty thing for them, because in the old days, the sentiment was, all right, if I let him do it to me, he's going to do it to the next cop. So you kicked the living shit out of that person, cuffed them up, took him in for discon resisting, right? And that was expected. And guess what? It was also expected by the bad guy. There was this kind of weird respect. Like they knew that if they disrespected us, it was going to be some back and forth. It was almost like if there was a guy that got in a foot chase with, and you wound up tuning him up at the end of that foot chase, and then you brought him before the desk officer. In my day, the desk officer say, "Son, what happened?" "I fell, Lieutenant. I fell." And it was like that was just normal. I mean, tell me how. Now with the cameras and when everybody wanted to sue, and then like back in my day, man, even in the projects, if you lock some kid up for something stupid, and the parents had to come pick him up, that kid was going to get slapped around by the parents in PSA 8 or whichever PSA it was. Now the cop's wrong. Now we're going to sue. We're going to call lawyers. But the bigger problem is our elected officials and some police leadership, man. Some police chiefs are such pussies that they will let their people become punching bags as long as it doesn't get them dragged out in front of something where they have to answer for use of force. Man, policing isn't always pretty. You know, that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, let me tell you a quick story. When I knew things were going sideways, and I was still on a job when this happened, and anyone who might be in the chat and listening right now, and if you can weigh in on this, but I'm going to go back to Staten Island, probably in the early 2000s, and two kids were caught graffitiing.
And the transit, and they brought them on the train tracks.
And they put them in a car, and they relocated them, and they said, "Where do you live?" And they put them in a car, and they said, "You now have a 2-mile walk home. So think about the next time you want to graffiti trains and do all that stuff." They locked up the cops for kidnapping and all sorts of crazy stuff. Like, what? They should have put the kid through the system? That's what they should have.
I agree with you, but yeah, I guess so, Tommy. I agree with you. Sometimes, you try to do the right thing, send the message, but
out of here.
That's
when you knew it was all over, bro.
Yeah.
Like that to me was one of the most defining. We talked with Monty Bynum, and Mike. You're a good friend of Monty, and Mike even introduced me to Monty back in the day. But we talk about community policing. That's community policing. Yes, and when those two cops relocate those kids and make them walk home 2 miles, and then they go to the parents, and they say to the parents, "Look, I made your kid walk home 2 months because he was spraying paint, and I could have arrested him," and the parent would have giving them the second beating. Like it was all over once. Like that's the way we're gonna do things. Come on.
Every now and then I had an encounter with the cops in Yonkers where I grew up because they'd catch us drinking on the bleachers at Lincoln High School, right? They'd steal our beer, but they would make us do push-ups. And they probably drank the fucking beer. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And it was push-ups. They could have locked us up. They could have summoned us because you're going to do push-ups, young man. And then we would watch them load our cases of beer into their patrol car and leave. And that was just how it was. Now they probably get larceny.
We used to catch fair beats. We used to make them do quizzes. We had a kid once. We said, listen, you got caught beating a fair. I'm not going to write you a juvenile report. I'm not going to give you summons depending on the age, whatever. I said, I have a question for you. If you can answer this question, what's closer, the moon or Florida? And if you can tell me which is closer and you get it correct, I'll let you ride for free. And the kid would go, and one kid finally said, the moon. And we're like, are you freaking kidding me? What are you, an idiot? Like, what school do you go to? How could you consider the moon? And the kid goes, I can see the moon. I can't see Florida.
Tommy, how about name three? How many times you do the name 3 states and you'd get like New York, exactly. New Jersey, and Philadelphia, or some shit like that.
Yep, the Bronx, right?
Yeah.
No, and if somebody saw that now, and the push-ups, we did the push-ups. We used to have 20 kids in the mezzanine of a subway station doing push-ups, and then we'd all let them go. If they ever saw that now, they would be like, "You're abusive to them." We would just bond them with the kids. Come on, kids, you got to work a little bit. You want a free ride? Do some push-ups. Come on.
What abuse was, man. We went through that old academy on East 20th. That was abuse. I mean, that was the worst floor you could ever run on.
Did you have to do 30-something laps in one direction and then turn around and do 30-something laps in the other direction?
My worst day there, I did lunges. We were punished. I did lunges the whole gym block. And there's no way that this new age can do that. There's no way, But we did it because we had pride. We had pride and we wanted to show them up. You want us to do lunges? Yeah, we'll do lunges. We're not going to quit, right? And that was the mentality in 2005. That was the mentality back then. It's not it anymore, unfortunately. But if you quit, then you're going to quit on that 1085. You're going to quit on that 1013, going to that cop and trying to save that cop's life, right? And that's how they taught us. They're like, you're going to quit. And Sergeant Anderson, right? I think he's still on the job. I don't. He might have retired, but he was like one of the toughest guys, probably as a gym instructor. Of course, he got jammed up for something, but he was a great guy. He really did make it enjoyable to do lunges around the whole track. I mean, people were passing out. If you passed out in front of the police academy, if you had to go to the hospital for something, he would have the stretcher come from Cabrini and bring it in and put you in the stretcher. So he would make a spectacle of you. Just so, because he knew it wasn't real. When it's real, right? We know when it's not real, and he would embarrass the shit out of you. And you know what? No one would drop out of that run.
Yep, that's right. Peer pressure, baby. All right, so let's get back to real time and technology. We're about 50 minutes in. Good stuff, Mike. 10th priest. Let's do some 10th priest and stuff before we really get down and dirty,
man.
So Pete called you out, like you're hanging out with gangbangers.
We used to get again midnights. You get the weirdest people come into the precinct during the midnight shift, and we used to call them aliens, and because that's what they are, they're aliens. But Tyson came in one night and he needed help with something. It wasn't crazy, and I'm like, hey, let's take a picture. I took a picture with him. It's just funny. It's like, I probably was in the dorm for about 2 hours before that. And now I come downstairs and Tyson is downstairs, and he lived right by the 10th precinct. A lot of people,
And then who's this rapper?
Busta Rhymes. Yeah. Busta Rhymes he was always by the clubs every single night. And Busta was not a problem, until he was I'll tell you a Busta Rhymes story real quick, a funny one. Seahawks win the Super Bowl, right? That year they won the Super Bowl. It was at MetLife. So we had the club detail every night. A lot of people know the club detail, especially in the chat in the 10th precinct in Manhattan South. It was a big deal. But I was assigned the Seattle Seahawks after they won. So they're going from club to club. Now, me and my cops were out there for the last 3 days, like 13, 14-hour shifts, making sure, all these celebrities are going to these clubs and they're not getting fucked with and everything like that. So it's 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm thinking I'm going to go home, right? I do my lap around and I see everything is quiet, everything like that. And then there was a club called Avenue, very popular club near One Oak. I noticed there was about 12 to 15 cars in front of this place. And I had a talk with them before that. I said, listen, this is what time we're going to end it tonight. That's it. I don't hear nothing. And I'm like, what's going on? Why all these cars? I go, let's go inside. Let's do a club inspection. Sandra showed me doing a club inspection. I go in. I see every celebrity known to man party. I don't know how they kept the noise down. Then I see Busta Rhymes with a bottle of champagne, guzzling it with the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? I went crazy on them at that place. Yeah, the first thing I said to them is like, we worked for 3 days to make sure that you guys could have, a good time. Of course, we're making overtime off it. It is what it is. But now we're tired and we want to go home, and you guys didn't follow the rules. And I threw so many F-bombs and everything like that. Long story short, I go home. I go to sleep like a midnight sergeant should, and I wake up. I shut my phone off. I wake up to about 14 voice messages, and of course they complained about my profanity. But I was like, I'm defending my cops. I don't give a shit. Like we were out there for 3 days, busting our ass, making sure that these celebrities and these athletes don't get messed with. They have a good time in New York City, right? And that's what Busta did. But Busta's a great guy. He's very pro cop. A lot of these people are pro cop, believe it or not, when you see him in the city. Some aren't. Yeah. For the majority are.
Yeah. So let me throw a couple other pictures. What's this up? What's this?
That was the Occupy Wall Street, great Occupy Wall Street movement of our time. That was the start of every single protest that we have now. Yeah, Occupy Wall Street was
She's
so
probably
annoying.
still on payroll.
So annoying. And that was, I got spit on. Remember I mentioned I got spit on? I got spit on that day. I believe I got spit on right after this picture was taken. I was not happy. And I was on the front of the Yahoo homepage. Remember Yahoo? Yahoo was a big thing back in the day, not anymore, of course. But
Yahoo.
yeah, that was not fun. Those,
What's this, inside the precinct?
Yeah, inside the tent. The tent is actually a very, a lot of people don't know the survivors of the Titanic were actually brought to the 10th precinct.
Oh wow.
A lot of people don't know that. It's insanely old, obviously. Numerous violations against it. The cop dorm used to be the morgue, but you know what? A good cop could sleep anywhere, So
wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. That's a pretty cool story. That's a little historical nugget.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into Real-Time Crime Center, not only in New York City and your experience, but like what's going on in the rest of the country. Some really wild stuff. The technology acceleration in the last 2 years has probably been more advanced than the previous 20 before that. Would you agree with that?
Insane.
Yeah, it's really
going
insane.
on right now.
Okay. So I'll throw out a topic. We'll start. We got about 4 or 5 really good ones. Let's start with LPR. I know it really well, and it's probably the oldest and been around the longest. So New York City has the most expansive fixed LPR system in the country, for sure. They have some mobile devices on cars, not as many. Some other places do it more, but I think you can't drive into New York City without getting your car scanned for sure, and then the outer boroughs. So how's things going with that? And then the advancements, what are you seeing in the AI space, and no longer just reading plates, but like reading what they call fingerprints of the car? And we're trying not to call out any specific vendor.
Of course.
But just the technology in general. They're now reading bumper stickers and vehicle make and model based on video and photo recognition. So what are you seeing out there?
I love the space. I think LPRs are Very important. Not just the real-time crime centers, but police departments. And everyone's like, oh, it's Big Brother watching you. You know what? If you're not doing nothing wrong, then you have nothing to worry about. If I'm going into the city and it's capturing my plate, who cares? Who's looking into Mike Ricupero? You don't need to. Trust me. I'm not that exciting. Okay. But in the last couple of years, we've seen the LPR expansion, and not just in New York, but everywhere.
Yeah.
And, obviously, Tommy, you were a big part of that, as well, that movement at your previous place of work. And we still use it to this day. And I think it's, the LPR, the cameras, the photos that we're getting of these plates are so clear. It's amazing. It really is. And, we still have a problem with night. Night is always that problem, with the resolution and stuff like that. But, helping, we've solved cases, we've assisted on cases with LPR searches that, doing wildcard searches. A lot of people don't know what wildcard searches are. It's like getting a partial plate and running it through the system in a special way that you may get some results, and you may actually get the result that you're looking for. It's not conventional, but it is still done. A lot of people don't really know what that is, but it is something that a tool that we use, that a formula that we use in real time that is used all over, even in all the specialty units. But I will say this: the New York City Police Department was the first real-time crime center in the country, in the world, and it happened because of a lot of reasons, right? And now we're seeing the expansion of this. And Tommy, you were with me this year at the National Real-Time Crime Center Association, the conference. And kudos to Chris Henningston. Thank you for everything he's done for this space, and everyone before him. Jamie Hudson, Dalton Webb, everyone who started a Real-Time Crime Center Association. We sell out every single year now. There's real-time crime centers that are growing. Yeah. And growing because of cops, investigators. Now we're on the private sector. And this year, and when me and Tommy were at IACP, there was an ex-cop in almost every booth. And it just goes to show you, we're not just dumb cops. We're more,
That depends on who you ask. That depends on who you ask.
So. Fuck them. We're more than that, right? We bring expertise, we bring knowledge, and we're helping these companies thrive, right? And all that technology that's coming out, all that big boom, Tommy, that you were just talking about, is because of real-time crime centers. All this technology is tailored to real-time crime centers.
Yep. So Pete, did you have a comment?
No, but I'll tell you a little trivia about LPRs. Back in the days when I was in Phoenix, we had a lot of people to drive from Mexico up to gun shows in Phoenix. Yep. So we wanted to be able to take the LPR data that's collected at the border and feed it into cars from Arizona DPS that were patrolling the outskirts of the gun shows. And we were shot down because the NRA and some people in Congress were afraid that if we collected that information, we would somehow maintain a database of people who were purchasing guns. And ATF is not allowed to have a database of people who purchase guns. So even when there's a valid investigative reason to do something, sometimes idiots get in the way. So yeah, we weren't allowed to. I don't know if that's changed, because I'm talking about.
Oh, the word, you can't use the word database anymore. That's a no word. That's, God forbid, we have some intelligence that is going to help us make an arrest or anything like that.
Yeah. So because today's show is going to be a little tech centric, we're going to talk about LPR and a little bit behind. Like Mike's point was like, all right, I'm an uninteresting person. I don't have anything. I've done anything wrong. What are you worried about? Well, all right, maybe you just don't like that. Maybe you're uncomfortable with that. All right, well, let me just tell you, there's been 9 higher court rulings on LPR. None of them have ever reached the Supreme Court. And the only thing that is still undetermined is the aggregation of the data for insights and to travel. But what everyone never really truly understands is you're taking a photograph of a vehicle. It's a hunk of metal. It is not a human being. It is not a person. You cannot violate the rights of a car. And there's not an investigator in this country, not a detective in this country, not an analyst in this country that can put an ass in the seat of a car unless they have a zoomed in photograph of the driver and then do facial recognition and then do a comparative database search against another database, none of which is integrated in this country, except maybe in the intelligence community, which I'm unaware of. But your state, local, and federal traditional law enforcement does not have those capabilities. Therefore, those arguments of invasion of privacy are moot. Move on. The Constitution, the judges, the courts have ruled on it 9 times. There's one, in my opinion, there's one outstanding, and it's the aggregation of the data, which I still don't think will prevail. But that being said, so that's it on the LPR. So, Mike, talk to me about how often would you say an LPR hit turned out to be either really productive, significantly productive, or at least a contributor to criminal investigations in New York?
I think what was the stat? I think like 10%, or probably more than that, of all crimes start from a vehicle, right?
Yeah.
Son of Sam got caught with parking his car at 100 in Brooklyn, right? And I had that. John Russo had that box, the Son of Sam box, on his desk one day. And I went up there to the chief of D's, and I was like, wow, there's so much history right here. And the way detectives used to do work, not to go off subject, but it was so amazing. The amount of work that was done in that case by hand, by typewriter. Yeah. It cannot be done today. Let's put it that way. But, I will say this, Tommy, and I want to say this before, that technology is great, but detectives make the arrest and they learn how to use this technology. So it all falls on the cops. Even though the technology is there, we still need cops trained properly, and we need policy that's going to protect cops for using this type of technology. And I think I do see a tremendous growth in LPR because with last 2 years we were getting ghost vehicles, right? And in the real-time crime center and in the New York City Police Department, and Connie Gannon, I don't know if you're out there, but Connie developed a method that it's his own method. Connie's one of the best detectives I ever met. I know I said that about Lisa Rosado, but Connie is responsible for a lot of big job arrests, that leaving the scene jobs and stuff like that. Connie came up with this formula that really takes a vehicle, and kudos to my guys who've been in the vehicle identification group in real-time crime that are still there holding it down. Oh, my boys. They could, I call it facial rec for vehicles. There's a formula that they use that we don't need a plate anymore. We could just do really good police work and get data and support data, and we could almost get probable cause, but we don't because it's a vehicle, right? But then you look at data, and if someone got a summons, if someone's been in an accident, right? Now you're getting people, right? And once you get people, the little mouse in our head start, the wheel starts going and stuff like that. And then we see known associates and stuff. And then we may look at social media to see if there's any pictures of that car, because we all know that if perps have a nice car, they love putting it on social media. I haven't put a car on social media in about, 15 years because I don't care about vehicles. But, this is just the start of, I think, a workflow that's being created, Tommy and Pete, because of technology out there. And it's being done by detectives, by cops.
Yeah. So just on another note, like the Brown University and the MIT case, and then they tracked the guy into New Hampshire, and then they found him. He had taken his own life. I think what's really important is that there was some claims that the technology solved the crime. So to your point, Mike, cops, detectives, analysts put the shit together and make the case. These are just tools. Don't mistake the human side of this stuff. It's kind of what? The sheetrockers, like the screw gun screws the sheetrock to the wall. It's a tool. So I really have, and like I said, I've seen it in the New York City Police Department, and I've seen it all across the country. I have been humbled and honored to see the tremendous amount of work of really skilled investigators, detectives, and cops all across this country. Don't ever let anyone tell you that a technology solved the case. It takes a lot more than one piece of evidence to put a case together and get a conviction and exhaust all appeals up to the United States Supreme Court. So it's a little bit more complicated than that. So don't let anyone tell you any different. Yeah, so LPR, wrap that up. It's a good topic, really interesting, fascinating stuff. A lot more to see there. Any final thoughts, Pete, on LPR? And
nah, man, like I said, a lot of this stuff I've never used as an investigator because it didn't exist until I was already a supervisor at ATF. And we didn't have real-time crime centers. I've toured some. I toured New York's when I went through leading the intelligence community course. I toured the one in Miami Gardens when I was the SAC and the ATF office down there, City of Miami's. But I never benefited from any because, you know, by that time, like I said, I was already doing other stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so facial rec. Another space I'm familiar with. I know you were very much involved with. Give me an example of where facial rec was 10 years ago and where it is now today.
Kenny McKeel needs
Kenny McKeel
needs a lot of credit for this. He's really the one that, you know, went with the ball on this with facial rec. You know, they were doing the iris, a project about iris. You know, yes. I went into the vault for this. Okay, when I was in real time, I read every single thing that they have done, and it was the iris project, and they wanted to you know, further it and turn it into facial rec, and they started drawing up policy. And of course, what I read in the very beginning, they were having a lot of problems. But circle back to today, you know, problems happen, right? Mistakes are made in the beginning when you implement new technology, and you got to deal with it, and you got to pivot, and you got to fix it. And you know, there was a lot of people before me that really went with that. You know, Joe Cortesis, who's a friend of ours, is, you know, awesome at it. Kevin Keaton, again. So, you know, in real time, really went with it. It wasn't the work that they do in facial recognition at that time. The AI wasn't there. They actually had to do real investigative work. You know, and just so everyone knows on this, it's not probable cause to make an arrest. It was just an investigative lead. But most of the time, I saw a picture of somebody, and you saw a picture of someone, and you're like, yeah, that person is that person, right? But we can't say that. We can only give a lead. It's up to the detectives to make that to establish that probable cause by, you know, doing a photo array or doing a lineup or whatever any way they get that probable cause. But one of the most unappreciated units, I will say, on this job, they are relied upon every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day, big stories, big jobs, run this through facial rec, through facial rec. And when I went back there in 2021, I wanted to make sure that all of my detectives had the best computers, the best monitors. I wanted to make sure they had the best training. So they got FBI trained. And they got trained in-house, and they got third-party training as well. So if they went to court and they had to testify, they had three sets of training under their belt, and they knew exactly what they were talking about. You know, unfortunately, you know, I won't get into grade and everything like that, but I did put a lot of people in for grade that never got it, that deserved it in that unit. And the caseload in the last 3 years has gone up about 30% each year. So
give that raw number, 30% increases every year. But what's that raw number? So 365 days a year, you got a real-time crime center, New York City Police Department. Like, how many facial recognition requests? And again, depending on the quality of the source image and the probe image, don't worry about success rates, but just the requests of, I have a face, I'm trying to match this up. What are you talking? What's the volume? Is it 10 a day? Is it 20 a day? Is it 100 a day? What's that number?
I was the kind of I didn't want to rush my investigators when it came to this. But this now in that facial rec unit, they're so good, and the AI has gotten so good that they could probably do that a day. I don't agree with that. I think they should take their time with everything, and good police work takes time. And and it may cost money. It may cost some overtime, right? And just the belly of the beast. That's how we get into it, right? But
Yeah.
I don't. It's such a touchy subject, and every year the city council is trying to get us with something. And I worked very closely with legal on renewing some policy, making some changes with the patrol guide procedures and stuff like that. That that will cover them for at least the time being. But unfortunately, they're going to be. I see in the future that they're going to be attacked. They will. And there's always the amount of FOIL requests that I got a day that I gave to legal because they wanted to know everything about us. If you go to NYPD, if you go to Post Act, it'll tell you exactly how we use facial recognition. That is exactly how we use it. It is not used any other way. And we don't use social media. We use real photos, real police photos, and real, documented photos that can say that that's the person that we think.
So, Mike, explain to the audience what the difference is on galleries, right? Probe image is the image. So, Modern Samurai, good to see you. Thanks, brother, for coming in. To be honest, every time we got a photo in the squad, we did a facial rec request. That's a probe. And depending on the quality of the probe, it would determine the path forward. But it all really matters is the galleries. So talk about galleries. Again, not specific to NYPD, but across the nation, across the country. What's out there because a one-to-one match in facial recognition, one probe image to one gallery image is an easy thing to do in today's world. Maybe 20 years ago it wasn't, but today it is. But what about 1 to 100, 1 to 1,000,000, 1 to 1,000,000,000? What are those galleries? Tell these people what.
I can't tell you how many photos are in that gallery. It's just the amount of people that are being arrested that the photos are not sealed. So these are unsealed photos. So just go back like the last 3-4 years. There's so many arrests that are sealed that we're not getting to see the picture. Right? We're not getting to see that picture. But facial features don't really change much. It's all the same. So the algorithm will pick on something a picture that is 10 years old, right? Of course, we want to see a newer picture, but again, it's just a lead. A probe image is just an image from the video that you take, like a little snip, and you put that into the algorithm. The algorithm goes through the photo gallery, and I believe it's 200. We get back around 253 possible matches if it's a common face, and then
they're scored by percentage.
They're scored by a percentage. We never went by the percentage, even though the percentage is pretty accurate, but we never went by that. And I will say that, the investigators have told me plenty of times that, there's a person on the third page set of photos, the probe images, that is the person of interest that the algorithm put a low score on, but it was that. And then it's the investigative steps that they also brought into the workflow. It's checking social media. It's checking to see where they were in the country, the time of the incident. Were they arrested? Were they in the hospital? Are they dead? Are they, so, we used a lot of third-party software just to make sure, I had one incident that one of my investigators was like, oh, I don't feel comfortable putting out a possible match for this. And I was like, that's you. You're the detective. I am just the lieutenant here. If you feel that you don't feel comfortable doing that, then we're not going to do it. Then it came back to a CompStat that was the person. So then they questioned me why he didn't do that. I go, well, he didn't feel comfortable, and these are the reasons why. And that's it.
And were you doing peer reviews on that as well at that time?
They do peer reviews every day. Every day, a peer review, if everyone doesn't know, is like, hey, listen, Joe, come over here. What do you think about this picture? Do you think that this person could be, Pete? What do you think? And they would look at the facial features, and they would look at the nose, the eyes, the ears, everything like that. And then they would say, all right, I like that one, and peer-to-peer is done probably mostly on every case, unless it's a ground ball, right? And we're not using social media. We can use social media images to put it through the system for a probe, but we're not using social media images to do that one-on-one to compare. The gallery is only official photos, just so everyone knows that. And that has really not got, they still do it to this day. Since I left in June, I know that they still do it, and it will be done forever.
Yeah. So you mentioned the community council before, and I'll just say that, you know, them revisiting facial recognition every couple of years is just a power play. Again, consistent theme for those who were listening to the show at the beginning. We all know it works. We all know that the NYPD and other advanced police departments are doing really strong guardrails around how they establish a lead. To Mike's point that he said before, it is not established probable cause. It is only a lead, not unlike a anonymous tip to a Crime Stoppers. It has the same investigatory value and evidentiary value. It needs to be followed up on. But what I find fascinating is they know it works. They know the NYPD has done a fantastic job of putting guardrails and protecting the rights of people. The fact I can prove to you that it is such a good success across the country that the privacy people who are against facial recognition, all they talk about is like the same 7 cases that were really bad. And it's like, that's all you got is the same 7 cases? It's not happening every day across the country. It's just not happening. And this is just a power play. So kudos to the NYPD and all the other police departments in the country doing a really great job on facial rec. And to your point with Chris Henningsen and the Real-Time Crime Center, I know it's a major part of that process throughout the country. And all of those vary. And I'm going to give a teaser out. Lou Hayes, who runs a task force. He's a sergeant in Chicagoland, runs a 7-county task force, and he likes to call the Real-Time Crime Center virtual because it's out in the field and it's all mobile technology and communication and coordination. So that's a different view that we'll talk about in about a month on Real-Time Crime Centers. But the Real-Time Crime Centers, brick and mortar, and its concepts and its technology, fascinating, great stuff. So kudos to the ones who are doing facial recognition right. Any final thoughts on facial rec? Pete, did you use that? Did it tip into the ATF while you were still there, or?
No, but I tell you, I wish we had it because, Tommy, as you know, back in my day, I actually wound up getting involved in some cases where we proffer people and they talk about murders that they did, and then we go pull the case files, and in 9 different incidents, someone else was in jail for that murder. And then, as we would conduct a separate investigation now, they were all mis-IDs, all of them. Yeah. And we got all 9 people out of prison. One of them sat in jail for 25 years, one for 13 years, the other for like 16 years. They were innocent. We had people in custody confessing. But again, had we had facial recognition, maybe that would have excluded them, these mis-IDs. In one of them, 2 separate witnesses picked out the same person, didn't know each other, completely separate. In others, they went with one CI or with one witness, and the jury just believed that witness. But yeah, Edward Gary spent 25 years in prison because 2 people picked him out. He looked like the guy that actually did the murder that we found out much, much later, but that didn't give him back 25 years of his life that he sat in prison for. I wish it existed back then, but it didn't.
Yeah. So, Mike, let's reserve 911 because you and I talked about it a couple of days before, and that's your sweet spot right now where you're focused on. So let's leave that at the end. We talked about gunshot. We talked about UAV and drones. Where do you want to go next?
Well,
Real-Time Crime Center concept.
We didn't really talk about drones, and I think drones do belong in the Real-Time Crime Center concept. I think that's where they thrive because of the data that the Real-Time Crime Centers have access to. And it's not just about putting up a drone and looking at video. It's about what's at that location, right? What are you honing in on, right? When DFR first came out, I went to the scene.
Tell everybody what DFR is. DFR.
Drone first responder, right? Great concept. Started in Chula Vista many years back, and now it's grown into something that is out of this world. And the use cases are, every day there's more and more use cases for drones. And it is cheaper to put a drone out there than a helicopter, unfortunately. Not taking anything away from aviation, but it's true. And this is just technology. This is the world we live in. Technology is there, so let's use it. I will say that, when it comes to DFR, I saw it as, hey, we're losing a lot of cops out there. A lot of cops are retiring. There's no way around that. And that's why the Real-Time Crime Center was created in the first place, because a lot of cops retired after 9/11, and we lost quite a few with injury and sickness and everything like that. So we needed a way to leverage technology, kind of like what DFR is doing. Sending a drone out to a non-priority job or sending a drone out to a shots fired job is, before the cops get there, it is a game changer. It's something that, we're adapting, and all around the country they're adapting, and I just see it getting better. Meaning that these drones now could last, maybe an hour out there, maybe even longer, and then come back and get a new battery and then go back out, Yeah. So it's safer sometimes to put a drone out. Of course, a drone can never replace a cop. It can never replace boots on the ground. You always need those boots on the ground, because a drone ain't going to make a collar. It's going to help you. It's going to help you with digital evidence, right? But at the same time, you've got a shots fired job, and on the rooftop somewhere, you send the drone out and you see exactly what's going on. At least the officers that are responding there know exactly what they're getting themselves into, if it's legitimate or not.
Yeah.
So I just see that. I love the concept, and I love the future. I saw something before that they're using it in California for the wildfires. So yeah, they're using AI with drones for any hot pockets out there that, because a year ago was the fires in LA. Now they're trying to be, not reactive, but proactive, right? And that's what I always say. It's better to have something and be proactive than not have it.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah. So I have a cat that I live near. He's a military guy, and he's working on a robot that has a drone tethered to it, so it expands the battery life. It's probably more for military applications, but he's also using it for agricultural. Like it literally rolls around with robotics and GPS, and then the drone goes up in the air, and then it takes aerial photos, and then it analyzes like diseases on grapevines in a vineyard. And so what I'm trying to tell you folks is every single technology that I've seen for public safety and law enforcement is probably a repurposed application from somewhere else in some other way. Like, very rarely does a piece of technology originate in public safety because somebody is making money where it makes a lot of money in the commercial markets, across expanded markets. And then someone says, wow, that's a really cool technology. We should repurpose that in this environment. So I think the robots and DFR is just in its infancy, like really in its infancy. And, Eric Dim talks on his thing all the time, and we've talked on sidebars, that he's like, I'm worried about AI taking over. And then to Mike, your point, nothing's ever going to replace the cop. There's a term that we use in the technology space. It's called human in the loop.
Yep.
I don't think in my lifetime we will be at the advanced stage of a human in the loop being taken out. 100 years from now, maybe it's RoboCop type stuff. I don't know. But for now, the human in the loop is still prevalent and necessary. These tools are fantastic and they're awesome. However, it is accelerating really fast, and I don't know what the real future is, but I think in my lifetime, we're still going to keep the humans in the loop. So good.
The New York City Police Department doesn't even use a lot of AI. The only AI they use is in facial recognition and 2 other programs. That's it. We weren't allowed to use AI because there was no policy governing it. And even though cops use ChatGPT on their own, and a lot of other agencies do it, but the one thing we do is that we make sure that we're protected. We're going to protect the cops, and we're going to make sure that they're not caught, on the stand saying that they use ChatGPT and stuff like that, because it should be done responsibly. And educate yourself, everyone in there, educate yourself on AI before you use it. It's not just a tool to make funny videos. I do love those funny videos. They are hysterical.
No,
They're great. There's nothing to do. But I will say that, you know, it's and me and Tommy talk about this all the time, Pete. It helps our workflow every day. It helps make work a lot easier because, you know, no assistant here anymore, you know, no one else to help you. When you're in the private sector, it's just you. It's just you. It's you doing PowerPoints. It's you doing this and that, and that's fine. I have no problem doing that.
Yeah. All right. So Pete, I'm gonna go to you, the big gun guy and the ATF guy. Let's shift to gunshot acoustic detection systems.
They work.
How does that play in real-time crime center? Pete, you know it.
Yeah, look, they work. ShotSpotter worked. ShotSpotter got shut down in Chicago because it was putting people of color in jail because the cops were responding to shots fired calls and showing up and finding guys on a corner and tossing them and finding a gun and locking them up. And that's what happened there. It worked. The beauty of some of these technologies is in some neighborhoods, and we both know this, shots are such a common thing that sometimes people don't call the police anymore. So the only notification to law enforcement would be that technology, and cops would roll up on the scene and find somebody laying in the street bleeding and be able to call them an ambulance, get them help, and open up a case. Whether that person cooperated or not was another story, right? We know that. But, you know, that's the thing with ShotSpotter. It worked. There are other technologies out there that are similar. I think ShotSpotter is the most well-known. But, yeah, and my understanding that after Chicago shut them down, there are some other agencies out there that are looking to do the same thing, sometimes for the same reason. It's not cheap technology. And here's the other thing that you guys all know is some departments have a limited technology budget. And if they're spending a lot of money on things like ShotSpotter and then they decide, hey, man, we need to go out and buy drones, well, guess what? Something has to go. You know, I mean, we had the fortune of working for a very large agency with the NYPD. I worked for the federal government, which has money coming out of every which direction. But I mean, also remember being a housing cop, which was a small agency where all we had was cars and radios. You know, they didn't have technology. So I get it. But I mean, that's the challenge that I think, you know.
And the way we first started out with gun detection and where we are now, before I left is, you know, no more car backfires, no more stuff like the AI. You know, they did a great job training the AI to really know what a gunshot is, right?
Yeah.
And think about how much more brass is recovered from a scene that if you didn't have that technology, it would just go into, you know, the street or go into the sewer, you know, but that brass can actually solve a case.
No, you're right, Mike. And this is
at humans, detectives solve cases.
I said potentially because it has to go to the lab.
Correct.
You know, it has to go to the lab, Tommy.
That's what I used to have my soapbox about all the time, Mike, when I was working with ATF, because we have NYPD, which, as you know, compares spent shells to spent shells found elsewhere. And we had police chiefs, we had people from other agencies that didn't want to put all their spent shells into NYPD because, well, if there's not a body attached to it, it's a waste of time. And my argument would be, hey, that same knucklehead that decided to take their gun up to the rooftop and shoot at the air conditioner to test whether or not it worked, that resulted in a 911 call. Now you find one of those spent shells 2, 3, 4 days, 2, 3, 4 months later next to a body a mile away, and a suspect happened to live in that building. You know, I mean, it helps you link things together. But yes, to your point, once you made those links, you had to run down those leads and work a case like any detective did. Spent shells found somebody shooting at a mailbox can come back to something where you have a full license plate, per se, maybe on that property damage, can come back to spent shells found next to a body somewhere. So, I mean, you know, I never understood why some police chiefs and some agencies didn't want to put all their spent casings into the system. But it's come a long way, too. I mean, even the system back in the day, they were partitioned. So, for example, shootings in New York City could not have been compared to shootings in Newark because they were on different servers. There was a lot of data. They couldn't share that. Now there's a center in Huntsville, Alabama, and another one that's in Kansas that can compare spent shells from across the entire United States, even into Canada and parts of Mexico. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's great technology. I do a shooting here, sell my gun to some asshole that lives in Detroit. He brings it up to Detroit, figuring it, you know, it's not going to come back to anything in New York. Well, that used to be the case, unless somebody specifically asked for that comparison. Now it's done. So, I mean, we've come a long way with ballistics technology as well.
Yeah. So, Mike, back to real time with ShotSpotter, because I know NYPD and the ballistic matches and brass catcher went straight from the lab to the detectives. I don't think you guys saw that stuff, right?
No, we did. Yeah, we used to do link analysis charts and then sending out to the detectives. We had a whole.
You would do the after analytical stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So multiple. Okay, gotcha. All right, but let's do Shot Spotter. Like, what's the frequency? And I know I have a good friend who also worked on it, and he's a potential guest in a future 10-4 Tavern visit as well. And he worked on Shot Spotter. But your experience from the real-time crime center perspective, gunshot acoustics coming in, false alarms, like just walk us through that. And like what I really don't know is I understand the technology, but I don't know the stats. Like, how many times did we find a shooting and or a victim that no 911 calls came through? Does that happen a lot?
It happens a lot. Yeah. Because of shots. Because
that to me is great. That means to me that the
shots,
people have become so used to it that they just don't even call anymore. And that's a sad thing.
It's like Kitty Genovese. Remember we learned about Kitty Genovese in the academy back in the 80s? She was raped.
Yep.
She was raped. No one called because they were so used to hearing that kind of shit. So no one called, and this poor woman was raped like for quite some time. Same philosophy. Here you're some poor kid. They get shot in the chest. No one calls 911. You're bleeding out. You better pray that there's a shot spotter device somewhere nearby that's signaling the police, or you're fucked.
Yeah.
Now, do I think that technology works everywhere? No, it doesn't. It works in big cities, right? It works in big cities with gun crime and shootings, and you know it's not going to work in Connecticut. I'm sorry, it's just not.
No, you're right.
Part of Connecticut.
You know?
Wait.
There's probably a part of Connecticut that could probably use Shot Spotter. Okay.
Yeah, no, New Haven had a huge success with Shot Spotter, but you're right. It's not going to work in a place like, a rural Connecticut. I'll tell you a place that's full of Shot Spotter technology. Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere. They're everywhere down here.
And I think we're not supposed to know where the Shot Spotter devices are. We just know where the coverage is.
Right.
So that was set forward with the city council. They didn't want us to know where they are. We just have to know the coverage. But that being said, there's since that company came out with that, there's been companies that are trying to duplicate what they did, and some tell me that it's getting better. But that I don't like to mention that companies, Tommy, me and you, we talk about the tech, Pete, but they are the best out there. They really are.
Yeah. So as it relates to, like you said, those coverage areas and the sensors, and just for the audience to know, like they can tell the sequence, the caliber, like not 100%, but they can say, I can definitely tell the difference between a 9mm and a 22 as an example. Right. And so they're getting to that point now. These sound waves are measuring. And again, if I'm the receiving detective of that information, Pete, I want you to weigh in on this too. If you tell me it's a 9mm, I'm going to say, okay, that's the way I'm thinking, but I'm not taking that as absolute.
Correct. The other thing it can do, Tommy, is it can tell you if let's say I'm shooting and I'm chasing you down the street, it will know which direction I'm moving as I'm firing those shots. Because again, the technology works off triangulating the gunfire. It's not just like one antenna. It's like several different antennas. So it can pick up to some degree movement. So if it's shots being fired from a moving car, they'll probably know based on the speed of the car. If it's someone running, they'll probably know. Again, these are all things that have to be ironed out by investigators going there and doing the canvas and doing what cops and detectives do. But it gives them something to start. It's a starting ground.
Yeah. I know there's some emerging technologies trying to do that. I think it's really cool. Again, it's not the smoking gun for the lack of a better term, but it is good. And if you've got the technology, you've got the capabilities to deploy it, you use it as a tool and a pointer. It's not the end all be all. So that's cool. How about unified command, Mike, and CCTVs and public-private partnerships? You were a big part of in taking video streams in, and how's that working? And what does that look like across the country? I know there's a lot of effort in that space.
I brought a company called Fusus into the NYPD because I noticed that even though we had so many cameras, the crime reduction cameras, some of these cameras are facing walls. They're facing, they're not really working, right? I wanted cameras that store owners have, that bodegas have, that want the police's help, right? And I want to also help the detectives make arrests, right? So what I did is I started this program is connectnewyorkcity.org, where we gave basically a device to the store owner, and they had to do it on their own. It was nothing was forced, but they gave us live feeds to their feeds, whatever they wanted to give us. And now I would preach to them that I only wanted the front door or the vestibule, like areas that we see crimes happen. I don't need to know what's going on in the back room, right? So that being said, I brought this to the mayor and the police commissioner at the time, and they loved the idea. And we signed the contract. We went out there, boots on the ground. I went out there to Stapleton houses over there in that area. Went into the bodegas, and they were very happy that we had a program like this. And it grew so much that it had so much success that now there's thousands of cameras out there. I believe the site is still public. Hopefully, I haven't checked. But I still get detectives calling me like who they should call if they need video, and you can still call real time. And I made sure before I left that I gave everyone in the detective bureau or an investigative unit or above the rank of a cop, sergeant, lieutenant, so on and so on, access to these cameras, because crime travels, right? You may have a crime in the 6-7 that they're looking for someone in the 7-0. Why shouldn't the desk officer in the 7-0 have access to the 6-7 community cameras that are giving willingly to people? Now, we didn't give them cameras. We just gave them a connection, a way to bring it into our system that was encrypted and protected, and no privacy rules were broken at all. And we had, in the first 3-4 months, we had a lot of success stories. And I had a great team of, detectives that I formed a team that would go out there and they would, go door to door, because I couldn't do that every day. And they would, sign these, people up and these, residential businesses up. And then when I went to go teach it at CIC, when I went to CIC and I showed the detectives what I've been doing, they're like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Thank you. They would thank me. They would, because it's going to help them. It's going to help them not go into an establishment that they don't have to go into anymore. They could just get the video live and just bring it into the case, right? And a lot of these bodegas and a lot of these store owners didn't want the police to be known that the cops are helping them, right? So I told them that we would come in and you don't have to see us anymore as long as you give us access willingly, and they would. So we never had to go into some of these places that didn't want to show that they were helping us, but they did help us tremendously. And I would look at these cameras sometimes of an incident, and we would pick up things that a normal crime reduction camera wouldn't pick up. And there was no AI used, no facial recognition used. It was just cameras. By just, and these cameras that these bodegas have and these store owners have and these big residentials, these cameras are immaculate. They're like 4K. You see everything. So, I had someone actually call me 2 weeks ago, a tenant of a building, that there was an arson, that they caught the perp a lot faster than they thought they would by using those cameras, and they leveraged them. So that made me very happy.
Yeah. And I want to do a shout out, and if you know about it, great, talk about it. But a good friend of Pete and I is Desi Smythe and John Colgan at Secure Watch 24, and they have a big camera system in New York City. So shout out to those guys, retired chief and retired detective, doing a wonderful job in the CCTV space. So Secure Watch 24 was a big part of real time as well, right?
Yeah, I mean now it's integrated into the domain awareness system.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Good for those guys. Love to see NYPD guys doing really great stuff in the afterlife, because there is life after the job. Everybody, if I can just do a 30-second, Mike, right? Bet on yourself. Learn the job. Learn the technology. Learn a skill. Whether it's canine, whether it's aviation, be the best you can be. in that domain, and you will be rewarded greatly, and both financially and professionally, but personally as well, for the contributions you make. So go out there. Don't just be a lump. Just really dive into something, whatever it is you love to do. Dive into it. Okay. What else we talked about? You want to do? Let's see. We're 8:45 p.m., so we're about an hour and 40 minutes in. 9/11, 911 calls, CAD systems, and Pete, you remember this, right? Running out to a homicide scene, stop at the desk, grab the Sprint printout,
Yep.
and then read that gobbledygook.
Yes.
Right.
Painful.
Right? Imagine sitting on a crime scene on the street and reading a teletype matrix dot printer thing and then trying to figure out what the 911 caller said. Well, wait till you hear what Mike says is the potential of what is out here right now, because this is Mike's space right now. So go ahead, Mike. 911 calls in CAD.
So big shout out to my company, Rapid SOS. Great company. That was my afterlife job from the PD. I went right into there. I'm the strategic director for law enforcement. So basically I go all around the country and I show them how they could leverage the technology we have at Rapid SOS and use it to help people and catch criminals, right? You know, how many times did everyone in this chat or, you know, Pete, Tom, you get to a job, check the call back, no one's there, check it again, no one's there, 90X, 90L, right? Well, that doesn't have to be the case anymore because of the technology that's out there. We could actually pinpoint the location of the person calling 911 in real time. It's probably like a little seconds delay off, but we go beyond the anti-alley and the longe and the longitude and the latitude. And because we have contract with, you know, very big companies like Apple, Android, Google, and stuff like that, that we could pinpoint exactly where those people are. And to me, that's a game changer. And that's something that I think all police departments should start looking at. And, you know, everyone talks about next gen 911. This is it right here. We've had this for years. I'm just bringing them into the law enforcement world where they should be, you know, and about almost 100% coverage in 911 call centers is the company I work for, Rapid SOS. We're in almost 100% of all 911 call centers. That is an amazing stat. It's actually 96.4%. The 6%, I had to ask that question to my CEO, and he said it's Indian reservations because they don't believe in the technology. They govern themselves. But you know, this is you know, 85% of 911 calls are done with a device. It's done with a cell phone. Only 15% are still done with, you know, I have a landline. Don't ask me why. I never even use it. I don't even know my phone number. But landlines and voice over internet are used 15% of that time.
Wow.
Yeah. So we could tell you the device. We don't know who the person is, but there's stuff on our phone now that we could leverage in a lot of systems, like your medical. If you have an Apple phone, if you put the two buttons together, not only can you call 911 and it says emergency call, as you can see right there, that's Rapid SOS. That's my company. And then you could actually put your medical ID in as well. So Tommy, Pete, if God forbid something happens to you guys, you're in the street, you only have your cell phone on you, the cops could actually look at this, look at your phone, and you could actually see who your notification is. We don't have to do unidentified missings anymore because everyone knows unidentified missings is the biggest bag of shit you can do.
Right.
So, and missing persons want nothing to do with you when you call them. So, you know, this stuff, it can also be put into the CAD notes as well. With the AI and everything like that, translation, a lot of people use language line and it works for the most part, I guess. But now we could get that 911 audio live while the person is on the phone. And then let's say they're speaking a different language, we can transcribe in almost up to 50 languages right now. Wow. And over text, over 250 languages. So this is like life-saving stuff that I believe in, and I would have never left a great department that I was in. But I went for a company that I believe in, and the technology I believe in, and I believe I can make a difference out there, and I can still make a difference. And it's great. And Tommy was the one who told me to bet on myself, and I did.
That's what I said. I said it before, and I tell it to you, not because I love you, Mike, and we're friends, but any cop, I tell them the same thing. If you do the work and you grind it out, like, bet on yourself, because you are in charge of your own fate.
And like everything else,
don't leave it to anybody else. Do not leave it to anybody else. 6 months ago,
Pete, Tommy, I didn't know 911. All I knew about 911 was CAD, right?
Right.
Now I took the 5 months that I've been here at this company, and I took an interest in learning everything about the product and about the community. And that's what everyone should do. If this is your career path, and this is my career path now, I'm going to learn everything about it because I want to be comfortable talking about it. And that's where I am now. And I do see advances, and it really is a company that's up and coming. And I think it's just, we have nothing but a bright future ahead of us.
Well, good for you. Congratulations and good luck with that. So let's get back to what you were saying, though, Mike, before is, and I want to give, people in the New York City Police Department and any police department in across the country, Pete, you and I have talked about this. I was on the vendor floor in 2005 when I was still active in the cold case squad. And I would say out of 750 vendors at IACP, there might have been 10 cops on the floor. Today, in 2026, this year in October, I believe it's in Orlando, the IACP conference will have 750 to 1,000 vendors on the floor, and there will probably be 5,000 cops on the floor who are working for various vendors. They have over a 20-year period, they have finally recognized that the subject matter expertise of law enforcement in all its various shapes and forms are extremely valuable. I will also say that there's a whole bunch of people with a bunch of parchment on the wall with advanced degrees that like what you have to say, but they really don't fully respect the full knowledge of that. And there are exceptions, of course, but at the end of the day, you're just a mouth-breathing, knuckle-dragging cop. And don't ever forget that, detective, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, chief, or whatever. But at the end of the day, Pete, you know it. We've talked about this extensively. We know how to read people. We know how to see people. We get through the bullshit. We get shit done. And so, Mike, congratulations to you and your post-career, because I know you're going to do great things like that as well. And you'll fight through. And I'm glad to hear your CEOs respecting your opinions and contributions to the company. What was there any other technology? I just want to go back to the there was the fact that you can find a 911 caller where you thought wasn't there, which is what Pete and I experienced, is really fascinating to me. And I didn't even know that until tonight. I don't know a lot about 911 and CAD. That is a game changer. If you've got the troops out in the field doing their canvases, running around, knocking on the door, if they know where to go and where to talk and where to do that canvas and focus, that is some wild stuff.
I'll take it to another level that we just we just signed the contract with Apple that gives us the ability for a 911 caller to FaceTime. Now the 911 dispatcher could FaceTime the caller, and if let's say they don't want to make it like a videotape at anyone, so they could keep the screen black like this, right? And no one would know. But if they want to videotape, if they're a safe distance away from what's going on, they can videotape what's going on and the cops responding. And the first responders responding, not just cops. We're talking about EMTs, firefighters. They could see exactly what's going on. Yeah. And I think it still has some time, right? That to develop into something bigger than what it is. But it's a great start. And this is something that will save lives. It will save cops' lives. And, I look at it now, and I think the future is bright for technology. But I like to always challenge people, Tommy, and I like to always challenge companies. Like, come out with something out. Let's start thinking outside the box a little more, right? How more can we help, right? You thought outside the box. You did it, right?
Well,
Whether
so I was looking at my Starlink bill today,
right.
and I have Starlink in my residence. And Eric Dim, Starlink, buddy, we're together on that.
Eric's got. You're the only two people I know that have Starlink. Even though
it's awesome, bro. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And I have this really cool website and this app, and I get all the stats and all of the. I mean, it is wild. Yeah. And so when you think about putting colonies on Mars and Starlink and connectivity anywhere on the planet, not in these rural areas, get it, and all stuff like law enforcement's not that big. But I want all the technologists and all of the former cops who become parts of technology to think big, and don't be shut down and say, "I'm thinking of something. That's 5 years away." Okay, it is 5 years away. We need to start working on it now. You do not wait for it for 5 years from now when start building and working towards that now. So that's really exciting. I'm going to be out of the game by then, but I can't wait to watch it because it's going to be exciting for sure. Any final thoughts? Come on, give me some last tech, really cool stuff, maybe stuff that we don't know, Mike, that's going on in real time. Then I want you to do a replug for the Real-Time Crime Center National Real-Time Crime Center Association. They're doing a great thing out there, spreading the word and getting these centralized support units to push data out to the field, help the troops, cops, detectives, and analysts out there. So anything we didn't touch on in technology space?
I mean, we probably didn't, but I think we hit a lot of points that a lot of people in your audience that are non-MOS or even MOS can understand. I think in the future AI is going to still is going to get better, and we're going to get better at things we do. But right now we still need that human in the loop. Always has to be there, right, to verify that it is. There's another thing that I'm seeing, like non-priority jobs are being handled. Some pilot programs around the country by automated 911 systems by using AI. So I'm not talking about disputes. I'm talking about vehicle accidents, just property damage only, noise complaints, blocked driveways, all this stuff that you don't have to send the police to. Let's see how we can make that better. Because how many cars are precincts putting out there? 2, 3, 4, maybe. I don't even think they put out 4. I still talk to some of my friends that are still on the job, and they're like, we put out 2 or 3, which is crazy, right? Yeah. So if we can help them out a little bit, make their job easier, put less stress on them, let's try to think of something.
I'll tell you right now, Mike, if I call my bank and I don't talk to a human, I get pissed off. So I'm just saying. So
I think it's crazy that we still, till I left in June, we're still doing overtime slips by hand, by paper. That's insane.
Yeah, I know. I hear you. Well, I left the job, and I know for a couple of years after I left the job, they were still doing DD5s and police reports with carbon paper, and I swear there was a company that manufactured carbon paper that the only reason they were still in existence because they supplied the New York City Police Department with carbon paper for DD5s and 61s and everything. So anyway, Pete, technology, man, come on, man. What do you think?
Man, look, I wish that some of this technology we're talking about here today existed when I was working cases. I really do. And look, some of the stuff that's still here, like NYPD back then was IBIS, if you remember, right? You'd get a hit back from the lab, like if you had a homicide trial, like a week after the trial was finished, right? It was never timely. So I mean, even the stuff that did exist has gotten so much better, so much faster, so much more timely, so much more effective. But I mean, the stuff that's out there that's new, that's emerging, man, I wish I had it at my fingertips back when I was doing canvases, working cases, catching homicides, or even doing RICOs. I mean, because, Tommy, as you know, I left NYPD in 2001 to go to the feds. We had a ton of resources, but not the stuff that exists today. I mean, we had laptops when you guys were using Selectric typewriters and some of the other shit. We had, encrypted radios that were a little bit different than what NYPD used in our cars. We had some other things at our disposal. You go get like everybody had access to trackers to slap on a car and shit like that. But the stuff that's here today is just so much more high speed, so much more advanced, and just I guess I would say cleaner in that the technology's more user friendly, so you're less likely to see mistakes with it than the stuff that we had back in our day. Back in our day, we kind of just figuring it out,
Yeah.
So
I
did a great job at it too, figuring it out, especially with the milk crates in the back. I mean,
that was fixing the RMP seat. I love it.
Listen, that's how a cop thought. But like, listen, if I don't have a seat in the back, I'm going to make a seat in the back and I'm going to sit down. Probably wasn't the most comfortable thing in the world. And remember when you guys came, I mean, in 2005, some of the RMP still had those big computers. Oh my God. What the hell? No one used them. And then when we put MBTs in vehicles, what did we do? We didn't use them. We played solitaire on it all day.
Yep.
Right? That's what we did.
And then you texted each other, instant message, direct message. You slid into the DMs to another sector. Right? Yeah. The one final thing I'll let everyone know, if anyone's a chat, Perplexity, Claude, Copilot, or any other AI tool use, I know there's tools out there right now that are reading cold cases. Being a former cold case guy, you're either digitally or manually scanning entire cases, every piece of paper, every report going back 30, 40, 50 years before it was digitized, and then they're OCRing it, reading it, and then summarizing it and saying this person was never followed. Pete Forcelli was never followed up on a subsequent interview that he should have been interviewed. Like, it's wild what's going on in case review and analysis for cold cases. Again, I know a couple of vendors that are doing it. I would say that you want to read the summaries, but then when you see something that raises your interest, you're going to have to still go back and do the manual work and do the reading. We had Jeff Lewis on from Miami, a good friend of Pete's, who's now doing, I think it's Seminole County, Pete, that he's a cold case detective volunteering. Again, it's God's work. So thank God for the people like Jeff Lewis and those guys reading these cold cases and solving 10 or 15 cases a year for free, because I would have done this job for free. If I had a trust fund, I would have done this job for free, 100%. Or if I hit the lotto, because Pete said his wealth management strategy is hitting the lotto. So,
my old partner hit the lotto. Just saying.
Yeah. And so these tools that are reading voluminous cases, thousands of pages. I mean, I read the Judge Crater abduction case from the 1920s in New York, where we think he's buried under the Coney Island Boardwalk. And me and Butch Nisi read that, and we looked up at each other, and we were just laughing and enjoying ourselves reading this case. And we're like, I can't believe they're paying us to do this, right? And then the detective, Brian O'Toole, wanted to exhume the body. Well, he wanted to, I'm sorry, not exhume, but he wanted to dig up the Coney Island Boardwalk to find the body where we thought Judge Crater was buried. I was like, yeah, we're not going to do that 100 years later. But the case was so big, it took us days and days and days to read, that if you input it, you can have a summary of the case in 20 minutes.
Wow.
And so that's where we are. All right, everybody, 508 viewers tonight live. So, Mike, thank you. 508, really good number. Thank you, everybody, for showing up.
Is that good?
Yeah, it's really good. It's not Bobby Boyce numbers.
Well, no one could. Bobby Boy, no one could.
But it's pretty darn good. Yeah.
Great guy.
So thank you for that, everybody. Thanks for showing up tonight. Really appreciate it. I'll go around the horn, Pete, and then we'll let Mike finish up. It's his show, and then I'll do my housekeeping at the end.
Yeah, Mike, good meeting you. We've never crossed paths. Learned a lot today. I appreciate it. I got a lot more to learn, so I'm going to do some research and catch up on things, try to stay current. But no, it's good meeting you for the first time. God bless you and your family. Have a great 2026. The best of health, wealth, prosperity, and peace, my brother.
God bless. Thank you, Pete. Thank you so much.
All right, Mike, final thoughts with you, and then I got house cleaning to do.
I will, any cops in this chat that are on the job right now, just remember, us retired guys still care about you. We do. And anytime that you need help or you got to speak to somebody, don't be scared. If you know me and you're in this chat and you're having a problem, reach out to me and reach out to everyone, because, it's not worth it at the end of the day. Be positive, even though there's a lot of negativity out there. I try to stay positive, even though I know in that chat there was a lot of negativity towards me, but I could care less, because all those people are not in my situation right now, because I know that I worked my ass off, and I know that what I did, a lot of people can't say they did. So if you have an idea, like Tommy said before, go with your idea. There's no, the only dumb ideas is the ideas that are not spoken out about, right? If you have an idea, bring it to someone's attention, bring it to your boss's attention. And if they don't listen to you, they're not a good boss. Okay. Sure. And thank you, Tommy, for having me. And I will plug the National Real-Time Crime Center Association.
Yeah, plug them. Give it up. Chris and Nikki North and all those cats, and even Eric Levine, who I don't always agree with, but I met him at
Eric's a great guy.
I love those people. They're great.
Yeah, Eric's a great guy, and he does something that a lot of people don't do. But he had an idea, right, and he went with it, and he's gonna prosper from it. And he's a cop in Fort Worth. He's a sergeant in Fort Worth, right? And the National Real-Time Crime Center is bringing police departments together. And we're forming a coalition of real-time crimes communicating with each other. And when a big job does happen, we do call out and reach out to each other. So I'm very proud that I was part of it in the NYPD. And I'm even prouder to be now part of a company that lets me go and speak to police agencies about technology and about being positive out there.
Yeah. Eric and John used to, I wouldn't say tool on me, but they teased me a little bit about at one point I was the only, and then there was a second, and I think there might be a third, that said I would still do the job all over again. I probably still would. I've had some really serious considerations. It's really tough. But anyway, again, my 40-year anniversary is coming up Friday. I would not change one thing, one word, one day. All the good, all the bad, all the successes, all the failures, and I've got a lot of failures and a lot of fuck-ups, and I wouldn't change anything. The job is not the job in the sense of the agency. The job is the people, and the people that are around you. And maybe the job fucked you, but I think that's not this job. It's just any job. Any bureaucracy, any corporation, any agency, whatever it is. The thing that was special to me is the people that I've met along the way. All day, every day. The 9 guys that I text with every day. Pete and I talk 5 times a day. These are the people that I've met in the job, after the job. Find the people who are true and loyal and have a North Star, and stay with them, and life is good. So for all of the people on the chat, I just watched them, but I didn't even want to comment tonight. And I'm not going to call anyone out specifically, but I just find it hilarious. There's 2 things, and I said it to John and Eric last week. Other people's opinion of you is none of your business. If someone thinks Mike Ricupero is a jerk off, if he thinks Tommy Joyce is a jerk off, if he thinks Pete Friselli's a jerk off, it doesn't matter. Their opinion of me is not my fucking business. It doesn't fucking matter. And especially when you're anonymous. Because if someone like Bobby Boyce said to me, Tommy, you are a fucking asshole and you are fucking up, I would take that to heart. But when you're anonymous and you got criticisms, it doesn't fucking matter. It's nobody. And Rogan talks about this all the time. People who are cowboys behind a keyboard, never in a fucking million years would they ever say it to your face, because they can't face the humanity of an insult like that. And if they are, and if they're so sociopathic that they did that, And are they ready for the fucking 2x4 across the side of the fucking head that might follow it? It's fine. So whatever. So we're having a great time. We're positive here. We're doing really good shit. Pete and I love fucking bringing all of the fucking good people with great stories who have done the job, like true fucking pipe hitters. Mike, you're one of those guys. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. See you out there on the trail. Pete and I will see you out there on the trail. Love you. Love everybody.
You and Tommy get together, have a nice dinner, a nice sit down. Thank you. Okay. And thank you. And I've been reading some of the great comments in there. And I've been reading some of the assholes in there, which I won't.
Don't you worry about it. Don't you fucking worry.
And I know who those assholes are because they are hiding behind there. And I know who a lot of people.
We know they're not even good at it. They're not even good at it. Come on, don't even pay it no mind, Mike. Don't even give them the time. All right, Pete, your book, man. Come on, let's do it.
Yeah, man. It's the real story about what happened in Phoenix when a bunch of idiot ATF agents I work with allow 2,200 plus guns to walk to Mexico, to the cartels. And some prosecutors allowed it to happen as well. And not only that, one prosecutor allowed over 800 hand grenades to be walked to the Sinaloa cartel. And Border Patrol agent Brian Terry was murdered with one of the guns that was walked. And they were going to indict an agent that blew the whistle on them. So I stepped forward to tell the truth about what was going on in Phoenix for years. And that's what the book's about. So, yeah, man, thanks for anybody who might want to pick it up. I appreciate the support. True story. It's the story that actually got Eric Holder impeached and held in contempt of Congress.
Well done. Well done. Well done, Peter. All right. So tomorrow, I think there was a chat earlier that asked about Sal Greco. Sal Greco has moved on. He's going independent from the Finest Unfiltered. It's all good. There was a position where Sal wants to move on and do his own thing. Eric and John talked it through with him. They are moving on, and we still support Sal and his efforts and his message and everything that he's doing on his channel. So if you want to go see Sal Greco, you're going to have to find it on, I'm not exactly sure where it is, but next week we'll do that. And just to point in the right direction. In the interim, tomorrow night at 5:05 for civilians, 17:05 Eastern on Wednesday night, we have Madami comes out swinging on the executive perspective with Ron Layson and Rob Lukesh. And let me just read you the description. Episode 46, Ron and Rob delve into the significance of Mandami administration's actions on day one. Specifically, they talk about how Mayor Mandami revoked all executive orders issued September 26, 2024, the day Mayor Eric Adams was indicted. Subsequently, Mayor Mandami issued an executive order that placed the NYPD under direct report to the first deputy mayor. Although Mandami has since walked that statement back, the impact on the daily intelligence briefings with Police Commissioner Tisch remains a point of discussion. I'm supportive of that. Police Commissioner Tisch and Mandami should talk every day. Additionally, the lack of federal security clearance for Mayor Mandami raises concerns about the safety for New York. Join Ron and Rob in the chat tomorrow and watch the show to explore these and other recent developments with the New York City Police Department and the city as well. Marlon is pointing in the chat. You can find Sal on YouTube, The Sal Greco Show. Please do that. And then every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8:05 a.m., Eric, John, and Marlon, and the Friday roundtables, you'll see them then. So with that, everybody, you can follow the 10-4 Tavern, YouTube under The Finest Unfiltered, and then X, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. We have our own pages, our own social media pages. With that, Mike, love you, appreciate it. God bless you. Good luck in your post-career. Pete, see you next week, and see everybody next week. Please stay safe. Happy New Year, everybody.
God bless. Happy New Year.
Mike, stay on after in the green room. We'll do a cleanup.
Yeah.